Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the following days, everyone spent their time like this, except for Gildarts, who was a little nervous. Gildarts, what's wrong with you? Leila noticed his abnormality and looked up at him. Nothing much. Gildarts answered absent-mindedly. If you have nothing to do, just sit at the table over there. You smacking your lips and sighing here and there bothers me. Leila frowned and pointed to the table on the other side with her pen. Yes. Gildarts responded, but did not stand up. Instead, he looked at Leila hesitantly. TSK, just say whatever's on your mind, don't be so fussy. Seeing him like this, Leila reluctantly put down her pen and urged him. Leila, I want to ask you something. Gildarts glanced at Kana who was fighting, then hunched over and spoke to Leila in a low voice. You tell me. Leila replied. Come closer. Gildarts looked back again, then pulled Leila closer. Go ahead, I'm listening. Leila had no choice but to cooperate with him. Leila, how should I tell Kana that I'm going out to do a commission? Gildarts finally expressed his distress carefully. So this is what you've been doing all this time? Leila didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and sat up straight. This matter is very important to me. Gildarts looked at Leila seriously. I think you should just tell her about this matter directly. Leila said nonchalantly. How can that be possible? Gildarts looked grim. Gildarts, you just think too much. Kana is more mature than you think, she will understand you. Leila ignored Gildarts and continued to concentrate on his improvement plan. Am I really overthinking it? Gildarts muttered to himself, still feeling a little unsure. His eyes continued to focus on the battle between Kana and Laxus. On the other side, Altair's training was also on track. She could only rely on her own efforts. Ulu also began to train Leo and Gray. The three of them were in the room. Ulu was patiently explaining the key points of ice-shaping magic to them, while Leo and Gray took off their clothes and soaked in a bathtub full of ice cubes. To control the cold air, you must become one with it. This is the primary task. Hey, Ulu, when are you going to teach me magic? Gray sat in the bathtub, shivering with cold, but still pretending to be calm. Gray, don't panic, these are just the basics. Once your foundation is solid, I will teach you magic. That's right, I've been training with you from the basics. Leo sat next to Gray, holding his head with his hands. He had already completed the basic training, so he was not afraid of the cold. Gray was still holding on, but unfortunately he didn't hold on for long before curling up. Wooloo looked at Leo and Gray and sighed secretly in his heart. It was only August and the weather was still a little hot. They could only do a simple training here. The rest could only wait until winter to train these two people properly. Seeing that the time was almost up, Wooloo asked the two to get up, wipe off the water droplets on their bodies, change clothes, and go outdoors, and then began to demonstrate the release technique of modeling magic to Gray. She first showed Gray the movements. It was crucial to release magic with both hands. Then Wooloo solemnly warned Gray not to use one-handed modeling like Leo. One-handed modeling had poor balance and often could not be used at critical moments. Altair, how are you learning magic? Leila walked behind Altair with her notebook and asked. Leila didn't want to disturb Altair, but Gildarts was too annoying. He kept nagging about Kana and kept talking about Kana. What? What's going on? Altia was concentrating on the crystal ball, and she didn't notice Leila approaching. She was startled when she heard Leila's voice, and she covered the crystal ball in a panic. What are you doing, Altia? Why are you blocking the crystal ball? Leila looked at her with confusion. Altia's heart was pounding, and she explained in a panic, I'm fine, it's just that the magic failed. She quickly changed the subject. Then I'm leaving. After hearing her explanation, Leila turned around and left without thinking any more. Altia watched Leila leave, patted her chest with relief, and breathed a sigh of relief. Her eyes then fell on the crystal ball again. Oh. Isn't this Wooloo teaching Leo and Grey magic? Ah. Leila. Ultia was startled by the sudden appearance of Leila. It's okay, you can watch it if you want. Leila said with a smile. I just want to know how to learn my mother's magic. Altair lowered her head in embarrassment. It's okay. Of course you can learn. I think Ulu will be happy to teach you whenever you want. But I think you can wait until those two have finished learning before asking for advice. By then, there won't be those two big lights. Leila's words touched Ultia's heart. She looked at Ulu, who was teaching the two people magic. With a bright light in her eyes, Ulu taught Grey step by step, carefully explaining the key points of the movements, allowing Grey to feel the magic in his body, to feel the flow of magic power, to gather the magic power in his hands and release the magic. Grey did as he was told, but nothing happened. Ulu gently told Grey not to worry and to calm down. Then, she showed Grey how to make a shield with ice, which was the most basic shape. Grey watched carefully, then closed his eyes, followed the method Ulu said, and calmed down, and finally succeeded in releasing it. It was a small shield, although it was still a little inadequate, but it was already pretty good. Afterwards, Ulu began to explain the key points of the shaping magic to Grey, and asked Leo to demonstrate it in front of Grey. Leo easily created a gorilla with ice, but he was soon punched because of the one-handed shaping, and a big bump appeared on his head. Modeling magic is a free magic, and the magic shapes that can be created are different. Practice hard, and then find your own shape. Grey nodded, not quite understanding, and then continued to train, and at the same time began to think about what kind of shape he wanted to create. Ultia no longer paid attention, and focused all her attention on the water cup in front of her. This time, her magic was performed very smoothly, and the water instantly turned into ice. Her face was filled with a bright smile. Leila looked at Ultia's progress, and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. It's worthy of Sister Lei, she is so talented. Leila looked around and looked at the people around her. Everything was on track. The next plan should also be put on the agenda. I don't know how many years it will take. Now I can only wait for his news. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the training, everyone went their separate ways. On the way home, Gildarts held Kana's hand, and Kana happily hummed the ballad she had learned from Father Brock. Gildarts was absent-minded, and his steps slowed down unconsciously. Kana held Gildarts' hand and shook it constantly. Gildarts looked at Kana's cheerful appearance, and although he felt reluctant, he still spoke with difficulty. Kana, I have to go out to work tomorrow. Kana heard this, her body suddenly paused, and the ballad she was humming also stopped abruptly. She slowly turned around and looked at Gildarts with some reluctance in her eyes. After a moment of silence, Kana nodded gently and said softly, Well, then go, be careful on the road. Her words revealed her concern for Gildarts. Gildarts was extremely shocked by Kana's answer. He couldn't believe it in his heart, and asked tentatively, You won't blame your father, will you? No, why would you think so? Kana tilted her head, her face full of confusion. Because I haven't been able to spend enough time with you, and I have to go out. Gildarts looked down at Kana, his eyes full of guilt. Well, that's enough. Dad has to go out to work, and you like traveling very much, don't you? Kana shook her head and smiled to show her understanding. She still clearly remembered that Leila had told her that Gildarts liked traveling very much. Kana. Gildarts hugged Kana tightly, tears of emotion welling up in his eyes. Okay, Dad, let's go back and eat. Kana hugged Gildarts gently and said softly. Okay, Dad will cook for you tonight. Gildarts couldn't suppress his joy and even forgot himself. Let's go out for dinner. Kana's ruthless words were like a bucket of cold water, instantly extinguishing Gildarts's enthusiasm. At the same time, it also indirectly showed the true level of someone's cooking skills. Oh. All right then. Gildarts was a little disappointed, but when he thought about having dinner with Kana, he smiled again. The two walked farther and farther away. Behind a tree not far from them, Leila heard the conversation between father and daughter and a relieved smile appeared on her face. Gildarts always felt that he owed Kana something, so he was so uneasy and afraid of being rejected and disappointed by Kana. However, Gildarts had not realized that Kana had matured a lot. After all, when a child embarks on a journey to find his father, the hardships he experiences during the journey are imaginable to others. Now that the two have confirmed their relationship, Kana's knot has also been resolved. After it was untied, she no longer worried that Gildarts would leave, because she knew that Gildarts would not leave her. The next day, after Gildarts finished talking to Makarov, he set out for the train station. Makarov specifically reminded Gildarts of this commission, as if this commission was specifically for Gildarts to go. Before leaving, Kana handed a card to Gildarts and told him to carry it well with him. Gildarts took a look at it and put it in his package. Kana also explained the effect of this card to him. Gildarts kept it in mind, hugged Kana, and turned to leave. After that, although Kana knew that Gildarts would definitely come back, her mood was obviously a little low. Every day, she would tell fortunes for Gildarts, and this situation would only change when Gildarts was about to come back. Ulu will also have to go out to work in the next few days. Unfortunately, she cannot accept S-level commissions. Although her strength has reached the level of an S-level wizard, she still needs to pass the S-level exam as she has just joined the guild. However, according to Ulu, Makarov has decided to include her in this year's exam list. With Ulu's strength, she will definitely pass the exam smoothly. Generally speaking, Makarov the S-level exam will be held at Sirius Island at the end of this year, in early December, and the test takers will have a week to prepare. When Leila learned about this, she quietly told Makarov about his suggestion for the exam, letting Ulu and Gildarts meet during the exam, and the fight between the two will definitely be very interesting. The fight between two Saint level 10 people will definitely be very eye-catching, but unfortunately this proposal was decisively rejected by Makarov, who pointed at Leila's nose and cursed, "You want the tomb of the first generation to be destroyed? We still have to clean Sirius Island regularly." When the exam started, Makarov announced the start, but he said that there was only Ulu on the list this year. When the list came out, no one in the guild had any objections. After all, Ulu could be said to be the one who was chosen for this exam. Moreover, the guild has gradually entered a bottleneck period. Those who are capable have already become S-class wizards, while those who are not capable are not qualified yet. Since there is only one Ulu, Makarov also gave Ulu a simple exam task, which is to complete an S-class commission. Leila was murmuring in her heart, "This is too easy for Ulu, it would be better to let Ulu and Gildarts fight. I also want to see this epic production." S-level commissions are a piece of cake for Ulu. With her strength, it is no problem for her to compete for the Holy 10, but she is not interested in it. A week later, Ulu completed the commission brilliantly, and Makarov even received thanks from the client for the first time. He was very moved by this, because all he received before were compensation bills. Makarov praised Ulu in the guild, and yelled at the guild members to learn from Ulu and stop thinking about causing trouble all day long, so as to reduce his pressure. He gets scolded every time he goes to the council, and it is not easy for him. However, he was sleeping and didn't hear the content of the lecture at all. Makarov was standing on the stage and talking excitedly, but the members of the guild just ignored what Makarov said and just smiled and comforted him, saying that they would pay attention in the future. Seeing the perfunctory attitude of the crowd, Makarov was so angry that he jumped up and down, and no longer mentioned the matter. He directly announced that the S-class wizard of X772 was Ulu. The guild returned to its former liveliness. Everyone held a banquet. Eulucia also gave Ulu a carefully prepared gift, which was a pure handmade bracelet with a cute smiling face painted on each bead. This year's events ended successfully. It is worth mentioning that Kana and Eulucia have already mastered magic and will be able to accept commissions in a few months. Leo is also eager to try and is ready to take on commissions, but Gray still needs some time to grow. After all, he started slowly. In the days that followed, Gildarts and Ulu often asked Leila to take care of Kana and Ultia when they went out on missions. It was said that Gildarts even asked Ulu if she wanted to be his partner. However, Ulu still refused mercilessly. After all, she was not interested in the commission. If she could choose, she would rather accompany Ultia. Ulu chose some easier S-level commissions. which were not difficult and the rewards were enough to live on, so she spent most of her time teaching her disciples and accompanying Ultia. Gildarts understood Wooloo's thoughts, but when he thought of Wooloo's refusal, he felt regretful, so he set out on his journey alone again. During the time when Gildarts and Ulu were away, it was very difficult for Leila. Kana and Ultia always dragged Leila to train. Leila's strength was far beyond theirs, so she needed to pay attention to the degree of training. Whenever this happened, Laxus would take on commissions and go out to work, deliberately delaying his return for a few days. Leila finally understood how Laxus felt. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In April X 773, Kana and Ultia also decided to form a team to accept the mission. During this period, the two gradually became familiar with each other's magic and cooperated with each other to fight with Leila. Now they have a good understanding, they couldn't hold back their excitement and couldn't wait to find Makarov. Makarov just looked at Leila, and after seeing Leila nod slightly, he agreed to their request. After thanking the old man, Kana and Ultia hurried to the commission column and started to choose. Makarov was a little worried. He looked at Leila and motioned to follow them. Leila gladly accepted. According to the address on the commission, the three took a carriage and set off for Jolie village. Jolie village is located to the west of Magnolia, not far away, and it only takes half a day to arrive by carriage. Kana and Ultia received the task of defeating a group of thieves named Devin's family. Leila did not provide any substantial help and was silent all the way. Kana and Ultia were full of energy and began to discuss the plan actively in the carriage. They thought that the most urgent thing was to communicate with the client first and get the intelligence information of the thieves. Leila lay in the carriage, listening to the discussion of the two, and gradually fell asleep. He even felt that his participation was a bit redundant. The thieves from this small village could bully ordinary caravans. For Kana and Ultia, it was a piece of cake. He also specially looked up relevant information and found that this group of thieves had only learned some physical skills. Kana and Ultia were enough to give them a hard time. Leila, we're here, wake up. Ultia and Kana gently woke Leila up. Well, okay. Leila enjoyed the wake-up service of the two girls, rubbed her eyes, sat up and stretched. The smile on the corner of her mouth could not be suppressed, she slept so comfortably. Then let's go find the client. The three of them walked into the village of Yuri. The first thing that caught their eyes was a towering tower that looked simple and elegant. Leila introduced them to the 5-story pagoda of Yuri village, which had a long history and was often visited by villagers for worship. After passing through the 5-story pagoda, the three of them arrived at the client's house. Kana and Ultia knocked gently on the door, and an uncle answered and opened the door. He first saw the two little girls, and then Leila. Leila, you're here. Owen's voice was full of surprise. Hey, Uncle Owen, I knew it was you. Leila also smiled and stretched out her hand to greet Owen. Oh, is this another commission you accepted? Almost. They mainly answer the calls. I am here to help. You know each other? Kana and Ultia looked at each other, then turned back to look at Leila. Leila quickly introduced, Uncle Owen, I met him when I was doing a commission before. Uncle Owen is a fruit supplier. He has several fruit gardens at home. Sometimes Uncle Owen also delivers fruits to our guild. Hello Uncle Owen. Well, hello. Okay, that's enough of the small talk. Uncle Owen, please tell us the details of the commission. Okay, come in and sit down. Owen enthusiastically led Leila and the other two into the house, and then asked them to sit down on the sofa. He also took out some fruits and tea and put them on the table, indicating that they were welcome. Leila and the others gladly accepted Owen's kindness, and then Owen told them about the Devons family of thieves. The Devons were lying in ambush somewhere on the trade road. When they saw a passing caravan, any goods would be looted, and Uncle Owen was not spared. Recently, everyone in the village has suffered a lot from it. The villagers hated them to the core, but they had no choice but to ask for help. He was very impressed with Leila. After all, he had known Leila before. When Leila came to entrust him, Uncle Owen was still skeptical about why a child was sent to solve the commission, but later, he was impressed by Leila's strength, and gave Leila a large basket before leaving. Fruit, this time, he did not hesitate to initiate a commission to Fairy Tale. When he saw Kana and Altair, he did not despise them. It was also because of Leila that he had a very good impression of Fairy Tale. After listening to Uncle Owen's story, Kana and Altair discussed the plan, and then discussed it with Uncle Owen. Uncle Owen took a look at Leila and readily accepted the plan. Then, Uncle Owen pulled out a carriage from the backyard with several baskets in the carriage. After everything was ready, Owen and Leila drove in front, while Kana and Altair hid in one of the baskets. Because the two were petite, the basket was big enough to accommodate their bodies. As soon as they walked onto the road, a dark shadow was peeking in the dark in the woods next to them. Leila glanced at it inadvertently, then quickly turned her head to look forward, and the one in the basket behind her Altia had already sensed his movements through the crystal ball. The man saw a small carriage, and based on the principle of not letting go of any opportunity, he prepared to go back and call for help. The fish has been hooked, and all that is left is to wait. Leila sat leisurely in the carriage, chatting with Uncle Owen about family matters, and Owen did not look worried at all. After all, he had seen Leila's strength. Not long after, a group of thieves suddenly rushed out of the woods and blocked the way of the carriage. The horses were frightened and stopped with a neigh. Each of them held a sharp blade in his hand, staring at Owen and Leila with a sneer, with light in his eyes, staring at the prey in front of him. Uncle Owen once said that this group of thieves was extremely cunning, and would never act easily before they were sure that it was not a caravan or cargo. Unfortunately, there has been no caravan traveling in the village for some time, so they held back. Unable to stop, finally appeared, the thief leader Devon was about to speak, but Kana and Altair jumped out of the basket. At the same time, Kana's cards shot at the thieves, and Altair's crystal ball also rushed away. Devon also had some experience. Although he was facing two little girls, after seeing the cards and crystal balls, he still shouted and asked the brothers behind him to disperse, and he also jumped away quickly. Crystal balls kept flashing in the air, and more crystal balls appeared at the same time. Devon felt that he swung a few knives and hit the crystal balls, but unfortunately there were too many crystal balls, which kept hitting his body like raindrops. He was finally unable to resist and was shot down directly from the air. After Devon shouted, the brothers were alert, but Kana had already placed cards around and surrounded the group of people tightly. Then, she launched magic, and dazzling lights flashed, and the thieves instinctively covered their eyes. After that, thick fog rose up around them, surrounding them. Only the sound of falling to the ground was heard. As the smoke dissipated, only the thieves who were sleeping soundly were left. After that, Owen and Leila came forward with ropes and tied them up one by one. This commission was unusually easy. After that, they only needed to hand them over to the nearby army. After Owen thanked the three of them, he settled the reward. Owen also sent a few baskets of fruit to express his gratitude. After that, Owen returned to the village and told the villagers the good news. Then each household began to get busy and continue to deal with their own affairs. After all, because of the thieves, many caravans in the village did not transport goods during this period, and some transactions were delayed or cancelled. Kana and Altia also completed the commission excellently. When they returned to the guild, Makarov was relieved to see Kana and Altia return safely. He did not ask too much about the commission, but only cared about whether the two of them were injured in the commission. Kana and Altair shook their heads and told Makarov the details of the commission. The old man praised them, then he told Makarov about the fruits Owen sent. They sent too much and it was difficult to store them. They planned to use them in the guild. The fruits in the guild just needed to be replenished, so they simply put them in the guild's warehouse. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, Leila, you should team up with us from now on. Kana put her hands on the table, slapped it hard, and said loudly to Leila, who was still lowering her head. Yes, it's boring to do commissions alone. Aren't you very relaxed all day long? Altair also echoed beside him. No. Leila didn't even raise her head and continued to concentrate on writing in the notebook. Humph, forget it, let's go. Kana said, pulling Ultia away angrily, ignoring Leila. Why, Leila? Ultia gently pushed Kana's hand away, her eyes flickering with confusion, staring straight at Leila and asking. I have too many things to do, and I am not interested in these ordinary commissions. Perhaps I can consider the S-level commissions in the future. Leila saw that Ultair was not giving up, so he had no choice but to explain. He then closed the notebook, stood up, greeted the two, and turned back to his intelligence room. Kana looked at Leila's back with some anger. Latia lowered her head and thought, for now, she should deal with her own affairs first and not create any more complications. Recently, Leila has rarely accepted missions. After all, he is an intelligence chief and is not a vegetarian. Just providing intelligence is enough for him to live a comfortable life. He does not need to pay rent, nor does he have the pressure of mortgage. He uses magic to travel when he goes out, however, nothing has happened recently. It seems that those black magic cults have not started to act yet. It will take some time. There is no movement in the Paradise Tower now. As for the thought body, there is also no news. He does not know the exact timeline, which puts Leila in a very passive situation. He does not know how many years he will have to wait. Leila squatted on the ground, ready to continue his experiment. He had further improved the teleportation array a few days ago and recarved the magic array. Now he only needs the last step. Leila's hand gently placed on the magic array, and a dazzling white light instantly illuminated the whole room. He only felt the magic power in his body flowing continuously into the magic crystal in the magic array. This magic crystal is not ordinary. It is a high-end product that Leila bought from the black market. Moreover, Leila has carefully modified it so that it can store his magic power. Now this teleportation array is truly completed. Leila stepped gently into the teleportation array and kept shuttling between the two places. Then he carefully recorded the data about the teleportation array in his notebook. The effect was quite good and it was enough for use at present. After carefully comparing the data, he found that the effect of this magic crystal was 5 times better than ordinary ones. However, the transformation technology of magic crystal still needs to be improved, and its use also has a time limit. Although it can be reused, the shelf life is not long and needs to be replaced frequently. Leila recorded these key issues one by one, then sorted out the things and walked out of the room. At this time, Kana and Ultia went out to execute the commission again. After all, because the two had just completed a commission, but that commission was a bit too simple, and the two had not yet gotten over the freshness, Leila then enjoyed this leisure alone. He came to the bar, ordered a glass of juice, and savored this quiet time. The Kingdom of Fiori has a rule that people can only drink after they are 15 years old. Leila has not reached this age yet, not to mention that he is not a good drinker. I just don't know if he has a good talent for drinking in this body. In his previous life, he was the only kid in the dormitory in college. He was always laughed at by his roommates, saying that he could only sit at the same table with a dog. If he hadn't been out and everyone had given him some face, he would have made a fool of himself. In the days that followed, Leila no longer went out to take commissions, and he looked like he had nothing to do all day. Laxus couldn't stand it, mainly because he couldn't bear to see Leila so idle, so he joined forces with Kana and Ultair, and the three of them pestered Leila all day long. Leila had to avoid them from time to time. Later, when he really couldn't avoid them, he would also take some commissions, and then run out to stay for a few more days before coming back. Unfortunately, every time he came back, he would be pulled away by the three of them. Leila couldn't refuse, and when Kana and Ultair heard that he meant to refuse, they would use their special skills of acting like a spoiled child. Faced with such an attack, Leila had no ability to resist and could only accept it helplessly. Seeing that this trick was very effective on Leila, Kana and Ultair originally wanted her to join their team, but Leila firmly refused. Laxus held Leila's handle tightly. With just a glance, Leila could immediately understand what he meant and skillfully serve as a sparring partner. In this way, Leila spent 3 years in fear in these hellish days. One day in May X 776, Leila finally ushered in a long-lost moment of relaxation. The three people happened to be out on commissions, So Leila chatted with other members in the guild and asked if there were any interesting gossips recently. Makarov happened to come in from the door of the guild at this time. He saw Leila at a glance, then walked quickly to Leila and called Leila away without saying anything. Seeing his anxious look, it seemed that something was wrong. "Old man, what happened?" Leila was dragged to the intelligence room by Makarov. He saw the old man's anxiety from Makarov's expression and asked directly. "Leila, can you find Rob's location?" Makarov's voice was filled with anxiety. "Grandpa Rob, let me see." Without any hesitation, Leila immediately cast a spell and began to search. Leila had seen Grandpa Rob a few years ago, and at that time, Grandpa Rob still had magic power. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. For some reason, he suffered from magic exhaustion and now rarely comes to the guild. "I heard that he is living in his hometown village, and I haven't seen him for a long time." This time Makarov came to Leila, probably because he could no longer contact Grandpa Rob. Leila knew where Grandpa Rob was, and then cast the ancient book magic. Through the information of Grandpa Rob recorded during the previous contact, it clearly showed Grandpa Rob's current location. Paradise Tower. Leila's face became very solemn. Paradise Tower. "Are you sure you didn't see it wrong, Leila?" Makarov was shocked when he heard these 4 words, but then he calmed down. "It can't be wrong." Leila showed Makarov the location she had searched and the surrounding images. "It seems that the group of people built another one," Makarov said after seeing it clearly. "The Tower of Paradise is a forbidden magic that can bring the dead back to life. It is forbidden to build by the Magic Council because it is against human ethics. The previous 7 towers were destroyed by the suppression of the council. Now this is the 8th tower. Those black magic cults have a backup plan. There is no time to lose, old man, let's talk while we walk," Leila said to Makarov as she prepared to pack up and set off immediately. Good. Makarov knew the dangers of the Paradise Tower. After hearing what Leila said, the two quickly prepared their things and set off. "Wait, old man, do you have Grandpa Yajima's communication magic crystal?" Leila and Makarov rushed out of the guild gate in a hurry. Suddenly, Leila thought of something, turned around and said to Makarov. "Yes." Makarov answered quickly. "Take it with you, it might be useful," Leila said with a serious face and a firm tone. Makarov returned to his room, picked up the communication magic crystal, put on the bag, and then rushed to the Magnolia train with Leila. After buying the tickets, the two boarded the train to Harjan, and the Paradise Tower was just southeast of Harjan. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandpa, why is Grandpa Rob there? Leila knew the outcome of the matter, but he still needed to ask for some details. 2 days ago, I didn't hear from Rob, so I went to his village to visit him, but the villagers said he had been out for a while and hadn't come back yet. He usually doesn't do this. Makarov looked serious and told Leila the whole story. How long exactly? Leila's voice was a little anxious. It was about 10 days ago. We didn't write to each other often. I contacted him a few days ago, but I didn't receive a reply until yesterday. Who knew he had been missing for so long? Makarov regretted it and blamed himself for not noticing it earlier. Now, what I am most worried about is whether Grandpa Rob can survive. Leila frowned, her expression serious, and she was a little worried. Alas, if Rob hadn't had this disease, he wouldn't have suffered this misfortune. I really hope he won't do anything stupid again. His body can't stand it. Makarov sighed. It's okay, old man. The current situation is still optimistic. I can still clearly sense Grandpa Rob's location, which means he is doing well. Leila comforted. Therefore, the most urgent task is to eradicate this Paradise Tower, eliminate the black magic cult, and report to the Magic Council. After all, there are still many civilians being used as slaves. Makarov briefly explained the current situation and also thought about what to do next. The old man is really farsighted. Leila praised. Stop flattering me. Where is the exact location of that tower? Makarov couldn't wait any longer. Near the coast of Ka-Erlam, the train will arrive at Harukian in the afternoon, and I will take you directly to the Tower of Paradise. Well, I will contact Yajima now, I hope it is not too late. After Leila and Makarov finished their discussion and made a plan, Makarov contacted Yajima with the communication magic crystal and explained in detail the matter of Rob and the Tower of Paradise. After hearing the news, Yajima solemnly told Makarov that he must bring Rob back. Makarov nodded heavily, and then Yajima said that he would hold a meeting and send troops over. After the communication ended, Leila and Makarov began to recuperate and waited quietly for the train to start. Makarov also pretended to be calm. Fortunately, Leila was there, otherwise it would be difficult to find news about Rob. He looked out the window, looking at the scenery absent-mindedly, and kept praying, Rob must hold on, I will come to save you soon. At the same time, he was suppressing a rage in his heart. He hadn't been so angry for a long time. Dare to hurt his family, that is to be my enemy. Dear passengers, we have arrived at Harujin City. Passengers who want to get off, please hurry up and get off. A clear voice sounded from the carriage broadcast, and the attendant opened the carriage door. Makarov and Leila got off the train quickly. After walking out of the station, they walked to a corner on the street, and their figures instantly disappeared into the alley. Leila moved quickly in the direction of the Tower of Paradise. After several teleportations, they finally arrived at the island. From a distance, they could see that the tower had been built for a long time. It was estimated to be dozens of meters high, but nearly a quarter of the tower had been built. There are many sentry towers on the island, but there seems to be no sentry stationed there now. Leila appeared on the island with Makarov openly, and looked around and found nothing unusual. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the tower. The two looked at each other and thought to themselves that something was wrong. Leila, where is Rob? Makarov saw something was happening and couldn't suppress his anxiety. I'll take you there. Leila held Makarov's shoulders, activated magic, and instantly teleported to where Grandpa Rob was. Rob! Makarov's eyes moistened when he saw the thin Rob. Pony. Leila. Rob paused, turned his head, and looked in the direction of the voice, his face full of joy. Hey, Grandpa Rob, how are you? Leila saw Rob and greeted him with a smile on her face. Well, I'm fine. Rob looked at Leila with a smile, walked over and touched Leila's head, but the pale face and thin figure showed that his health was very poor. Okay, I'll deal with them first, and you two can chat. Leila then rushed towards the surrounding black magic cultists, leaving behind a spell to create a barrier around Rob and Makarov. Xiao Ma, how did you get here? Seeing that the surrounding environment was temporarily safe, Rob put down the shovel in his hand with a sense of relief and turned to Makarov to ask. Of course, Leila brought me here. You said that, but I was so worried. What happened to you? How did you get caught here? Makarov said unhappily, and then asked Rob with concern. I was on my way to a village when I saw a group of black magic cults grabbing some kids, and then. Rob smiled bitterly and recounted the situation one by one. Then you got carried away and tried to save those children, but ended up being caught here. Makarov pouted and looked at Rob with a bit of helplessness in his eyes. Yeah. Rob felt a little disappointed. Not only did he fail to save the children, but he also got himself into trouble and finally caused trouble for Xiao Ma. Well, it's all over, Rob. Makarov patted Rob's shoulder gently. Grandpa Rob, let me remove your handcuffs for you. Leila easily knocked down all the enemies around her, and then saw the handcuffs on Rob's hands and walked to Rob's side. Can you untie it? Leila. Yes. Leila pulled Rob's arm and carefully felt the magic in the handcuffs. Then, with a crisp sound, the handcuffs opened and fell to the ground. Hua. Rob moved his wrist and felt a sense of relief. That old man, Grandpa Rob, there is nothing to do here, I will go up to help the others. Leila immediately prepared to rescue the others in the upper area. Do you have enough magic power? Don't force yourself to teleport all the way here. Makarov said with a worried look on his face. Don't worry, old man, I'm not stupid. If I can't beat you, won't I just run away? Leila replied with a smile. That's good. Makarov knew that Leila would not lie, so he felt relieved. By the way, Leila, can you go to the punishment room on the upper floor and help me save a child? Rob called Leila, who was about to leave. Okay, what does he look like? Leila asked. He has short sky blue hair and a very obvious tattoo on his right eye. Rob described the child's characteristics. Okay, I understand. Leila nodded and turned away. Leila is getting better and better. Rob looked at Leila's back as she left. Yes, the child has grown up, but this brat is too lazy. He does nothing all day and just stays in the guild. Makarov couldn't help but sigh, and then he complained to Rob, looking like he was disappointed with him. Xiao Ma, I met two very interesting little guys here. Rob said with a smile, and the figures of the two people appeared in his mind. Oh, is it so? One is the child I asked Leila to save just now. He is very talented. The other is that girl. I believe she will become a powerful wizard in the future. Rob walked to the edge of the platform and pointed to the little girl in the front row of the crowd. Makarov followed Rob and followed the direction of Rob's finger. He saw the unique existence at a glance. The two stood on the edge of the platform and looked at the girl holding a shield and a sword in the crowd. She had short crimson hair, but it was a pity that her right eye was tightly bandaged. I didn't expect to see such a smile in a place like this. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Our system is still there. How is this possible? OGE's eyes widened, and he slammed his fist on the table. His mouth opened wide, and his face was full of disbelief. There is an 8th tower, just off the coast of Ka-Erlam. Bruno said calmly. Is that tower already finished? Ogu lowered his head. According to Makarov, the tower is not yet completed. Yajima said calmly that Makarov has gone there and he is sure he will take care of it. That's good, we will send troops there now. The other reviewers also echoed that they absolutely could not tolerate the existence of the R system. There are still many innocent civilians who have been captured there. We need to let the local investigation team and the army comfort the civilians and arrange their subsequent accommodation. That's it, let the army set off quickly. After the meeting, Yajima returned to his room and took out the communication magic crystal. Rob and Makarov in the Paradise Tower were as Leila sighed. Suddenly, a voice came. It was the communication magic crystal. Oh, by the way, tell little Yajima about the situation here. Makarov said as he took out the magic crystal and placed it in front of the two of them. Pony, have you found Rob? Here. Makarov turned the magic crystal over, and Yajima saw Rob, whose face was slightly pale. Xiao Luo, I'm glad you're still alive. Little Yajima, are you cursing me to death? Why are you running around like that, old man? And you even ran to such a dangerous place. Yajima said angrily. Oh, something unexpected happened. I'm glad you're all right. The council has confirmed the existence of this Paradise Tower and has sent the Rune Knights there. Rob, we'll meet again when you come back. Okay. After seeing Rob's agreement, Yajima nodded and hung up the connection with the magic crystal. He had other things to discuss with the members of the council. Makarov had already communicated with him once when he came to the island. When he saw the completion of the tower, he knew that the tower had existed for many years. It seems that the work of the intelligence department is really bad, but in the end this incident will most likely be suppressed by them, and Yajima can't do anything about it. Those old men are very concerned about their face. It seems that we can just wait for the army to arrive, but the black magic cultists in this Paradise Tower seem to be very ordinary. Makarov lowered his head and looked at the cultists who were retreating step by step. Well, they are not very strong, there must be someone behind the scenes who has not appeared yet. Rob nodded. Now he hasn't come to finish it, it seems he doesn't care about this place. It's magic soldiers, that the crowd was horrified and began to flee in panic. Magic soldiers are transformed from corpses and can use explosive magic with fire attributes. The transformation process is a kind of black magic, which has been strictly prohibited by the council many years ago. The black magic believers all showed a look of joy, and they all stood up, sneering at the embarrassed appearance of the civilians who were running away frantically. Groups of magic soldiers were seen floating in the air, their mouths opened in an exaggerated manner, and at the same time, red magic circles unfolded from their mouths, and flame bombs were fired at the crowd like cannonballs. Everyone ran away with their heads in their hands, discarded their weapons casually, and kept retreating. They all gave up resistance. The only one who stood still in the crowd was the girl. No, don't give up so quickly, you have to fight to the end. Urza kept persuading the fleeing crowd with her weapon. Unfortunately, it didn't work. They were all scared, and all the people who escaped were caught by the magic soldiers. Get out of the way. A man suddenly jumped out of the crowd, rushed straight towards Urza like an arrow from a bow, and pushed Urza hard. Urza stumbled and fell to the ground, raised her right hand to grab their backs, tears from her left eye rushed down like a flood, and the flame bomb behind her was about to fall. In a flash, a figure appeared in front of Urza like a ghost. Dispel the darkness, holy rain of light. Makarov put his hands together in front of his chest, unfolded the magic circle, and continuously fired dense light arrows like rain, piercing the flame bombs one by one. The flame bombs were all detonated in the air, and at the same time, those light arrows continued to shoot at the magic soldiers with unstoppable force. The magic soldiers were hit by the light arrows one by one, and exploded like firecrackers, falling to the ground one after another. All the magic soldiers were defeated in one encounter. Is this magic? Urza looked at the short old man in front of her with a look of shock in her eyes. Little girl, are you okay? Makarov turned around, not caring about the fate of the magic soldiers, and at the same time, his eyes were like a hawk, scanning the group of black magic cultists who were still standing there in a daze. He stretched out his hand to pull Urza up, and patted her head with a smile. Urza looked at the kind old man in front of her, and somehow a warm current surged in her heart. Urza, how are you? Are you not hurt? Rob also ran over. Grandpa Rob. I'm fine, this old man saved me. Urza saw Rob running over, shook her head and smiled and said to Rob. Shao Ma, hurry up and get it done. Looking at Makarov's unhurried appearance, Rob couldn't help but urge him. Okay, it will be over in a moment. Makarov waved his hand, turned around and cast a spell on the remaining believers. With one spell, a large number of black magic believers in front of him fell unconscious like harvested wheat. Urza. At this time, the four little they also ran over, shouting Urza's name loudly, with joy written all over their faces. Simon, Wooly, Hugh, Miljana. Urza turned around and looked at the four people. Grandpa Rob, who is that old man? He's so strong. The four of them chirped like birds, asking Rob. That's my good friend and the guild leader. Rob laughed happily and explained to them. Guild master. So handsome. The four of them looked at Makarov's heroic figure killing everyone, their eyes shining with brilliance. Yes, it's really reassuring to have him around. Rob also looked at Makarov and couldn't help but think of the past. It was a pity that he could no longer use magic. While Makarov went to clear the enemies in this area, the civilians in other areas were also successfully liberated. After that, they found the key to the handcuffs. Everyone unlocked the handcuffs, and then used these handcuffs on the black magic cultists. Well, all that's left is to wait for the army to arrive. It seems that there aren't many black magic cultists here. Makarov was relieved to see that everything was almost ready. He then asked all the civilians to gather and wait outside for the arrival of the army. Urza still wanted to save Jalal, but Rob persuaded her that someone had already gone to save him and asked her to just wait for the news. Urza had no choice but to give up and followed everyone outside, but her expression clearly showed that she was not relieved. Simon just looked at Urza with a look of disappointment. After Makarov calmed down the civilians, he realized that Leila had been gone for a long time. Just as he was wondering what was going on, Leila appeared in front of him. "Leila, what happened to your arm? And where's the child?" Makarov was relieved to see Leila come back, but suddenly he looked at the wound on Leila's arm, and there was no sign of the child that Rob mentioned beside Leila. "He's been taken away." Leila looked serious, as if she was facing a great enemy. "What, Jalal was taken away?" Urza was standing next to Rob, waiting for news about Jalal. Seeing Leila suddenly appear, she couldn't help but approach curiously. "Who is this?" Leila saw the girl's flaming red hair and knew what she was talking about, but she still pretended to be silent. "I am Urza Shukalet, what happened to Jalal?" Urza was like an ant on a hot pot, hurriedly introduced herself, and then asked impatiently. "He was captured by the Devil's Heart." Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Devil's Heart. How many people are there? Makarov looked solemn when he heard the name. "A person, to be precise, a teenager of about my age. I saw the emblem on his body." Leila replied. Makarov heard Leila's answer and thought to himself, there are not many people of the same age who can make Leila lose face. Where are they now? Makarov continued to ask. If the Devil's Heart was the mastermind, it would make sense. But what exactly did they want to do? Why did they capture that child? I fought him a few times and he took the boy away in front of me. Why did you take Jalal away? Urza asked. I don't know. Leila shook her head. What happened then? Makarov asked. Then Leila told Makarov what happened to him, but he just mentioned some unimportant people. After Leila and Rob Makarov separated, they walked towards the punishment room. The map of the entire Paradise Tower was already recorded in his mind, so he found the room easily. There were only 3 people in the room. Gerard was tied to a pillar beside him, and there were also 2 cultists, one fat and one thin, grinning triumphantly. This kid didn't even hum. It's really not fun. Even if you try to hold it back, it will be useless. You will only be punished more severely like the little girl last time. After saying that, he activated the magic, and a magic circle appeared from the crystal beside him. The electric shock released from it struck Gerard on the pillar. Hey, kid, you don't know how sacred it is to build on our system. When this tower is finished, you can all go to paradise. The system can revive our great God. Shut up, fat pig. Gerald endured the pain of the electric shock, clenched his teeth, and stared at the 2 men fiercely. What did you say? Gerard's words made the fat cultist angry and he immediately increased the output of magic power, and the power of the electric shock gradually increased. Don't worry about him. We will also go to suppress the thugs later. I will continue the punishment ceremony until you learn to fear God. The fat man stopped the ceremony and waited for Jalal to beg for mercy. The 2 men's evil smiles were like sharp thorns that deeply hurt Jalal's heart. Jalal's heart was filled with sadness. God, I don't need a God who can't even save a child. If I save you, would that make me a god? Leila saw this scene from outside and appeared directly in front of Jalal with a playful smile on her face. Who are you? Gerald forced himself to look at Leila, his heart full of doubts. It's really fun to tease your brother-in-law. Hey, kid, who are you and how did you get up here? Before Leila could reply to Gerald, she was interrupted by a fat and a thin cultist standing behind her. Don't you know we are talking? You should learn to shut up. It's rude to disturb others. Leila didn't even turn her head, but lowered her head and sighed, speaking earnestly. After Leila finished speaking, she stretched out her right hand, and the magic sword appeared silently in her hand. Then she threw it back, and the magic sword moved lightly in the air. Jalal watched Leila suddenly appear a sword, and suddenly saw Leila throw the sword away. He was very puzzled. Just as he was about to talk to Leila, the sword suddenly stood in the air, as if it had its own consciousness, and slashed at the 2 of them. What is this? Is it a magic item? They tried their best to dodge and launched attacks at the magic sword at the same time. The magic sword just lightly slashed and dispersed the magic, and then continued to attack the two people. The fat and thin cultists had to dodge with all their strength. While dodging, they wanted to use their magic wands to attack Leila, but the magic sword saw through it at a glance and blocked the magic. Then another slash directly cut off their magic wands. The magic sword made bursts of buzzing sounds and flew very fast. It surrounded the two people, set up a sword formation, and flew quickly in the formation. They could only dodge continuously, but they could not avoid the sharp blade of the magic sword. More and more sword marks appeared on their bodies. Finally, they couldn't stand it anymore and quickly knelt down to beg for mercy, saying that they were just following orders. Leila saw that Jalal was still looking at the magic sword in shock, and she felt a little happy in her heart. She thought, I really pretended well, but the most urgent thing is to save Jalal first. What's your name? Leila untied the rope and opened Gerald's handcuffs at the same time. Seeing that he was still in a daze, she simply spoke. My name is Gerald, who are you? I am God. Forehead. Huh, just kidding, my name is Leila, Grandpa Rob asked me to save you. Leila then showed the emblem on her right arm. It's from Grandpa Rob's guild. Jalal saw the emblem on Leila's arm, which was exactly the same as the one on Grandpa Rob's back, and his face was filled with ecstasy. Okay, you are saved, sit down and take a rest, I still have things to do. What's the matter? Don't mind your own business, kid. Jalal was speechless for a while, looking at Leila, thinking, you are not much older than me, but he was still very grateful to Leila in his heart. Leila smiled and finished talking to Jalal, then slowly walked towards the two black magic cultists. Hearing the constant pleas for mercy, Leila remained unmoved, and just set up a barrier around them. Jalal saw a white barrier falling, covering Leila and the fat and thin cultists who kept begging for mercy. In an instant, the whole room became quiet, and Jalal could not see the figures of the three people. Leila in the barrier looked at them kindly, and reached out to take back the magic sword. The magic sword shook twice to express protest, but Leila took it back very firmly. Well, you two have been saying that you were just following orders, so tell me what happened. Leila looked at the two people kneeling on the ground with a calm face. He is a deputy leader of our black magic cult. He reached an agreement with the Devil's Heart to let us build the Tower of Paradise here. Yes, we just received an order that we can revive Zerif after we complete the construction of this tower. The Devil's Heart. Okay, I'll trust you for now. Leila heard the key and thought of something else. The second generation does seem to have some connection with this place. He even sent Altair here and planned to use the Tower of Paradise to attract the attention of the council. So what was he going to do? Hiss, I have forgotten a little bit. Ha. Both the fat and thin believers breathed a sigh of relief, and the two knelt down and wiped the cold sweat from their heads. However, I want to ask you a question. Leila did not stop and continued. Sir, you say. Who of you two captured Grandpa Rob? Leila stared at the two of them. Sir, it was him. He caught it. You are talking nonsense, it is obvious that you caught him back. After hearing this, they knew that they could not escape this kind of thing, and the two of them tacitly pushed the matter onto the other person. Stop, I think you don't know who I'm talking about. Haha, that's right, I'm abrupt, how do you know the name? Leila looked at the two people biting each other, and she had already seen through it. Sir, I really didn't catch him. They said in unison. Don't worry, I trust you so much. If you both say that the other caught him, I will believe it. Let's just say that you two caught him. Sir, spare my life. There is only one question left, what about the eyes of the girl who came to the punishment room last time? Never mind, I know what the two of you will answer without having to guess. My lord, please spare us. Don't worry, I'm most afraid of killing people, I will spare you, but unfortunately, he won't. Leila had a faint smile on her lips. A figure appeared beside Leila, and at the same time, various interrogation tools appeared in the barrier. The man came over and saluted Leila. Leila nodded, then exited the barrier, and enjoyed the gift I prepared for you. Magic is convenient, and searched for a lot of fun things. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Leila left behind a back view, and was about to walk out of the barrier, when suddenly Leila paused, turned around and walked towards the two people again. No, I haven't done anything yet, it would be too bad if I left now. Leila approached them and rolled up her sleeves. You guys just like to arrest people, right? You even arrested my guild, you guys know how to torture people, right? You blinded Urza's eyes, right? Leila gnashed her teeth, kept talking, and didn't stop. She punched and kicked the two men, hitting their wounds. After the beating, she looked at the two men's unrecognizable faces, exhaled, calmed down, and signaled the person next to her to continue his work. Then she patted the non-existent dust on her body, tidied her clothes, and walked out of the barrier with a smile on her face again. Jalal, how are you? Are you feeling better? If you are, let's go. Leila looked at Jalal, who was leaning against the pillar, and asked. Well, it's almost done. Gerald heard the noise, looked up at Leila, stood up shakily but sat down again when his legs softened. Forget it, I'll take you with me. Leila walked over and prepared to teleport with Jalal. Leila, get out of the way. Jalal looked at Leila, but suddenly a panicked expression appeared on his face, and he shouted hurriedly. Leila heard Jalal's reminder and quickly used teleportation to dodge away, leaving a slash on the spot, and a huge gully was cut in the ground. Who is it? Leila shouted angrily, looking around but finding nothing. Oh, space magic, teleportation. A voice appeared above Leila's head. At the same time as the voice appeared, another slash came from behind. Leila sensed the danger and was about to activate teleportation to leave, but found that it was useless. Similarly, because the magic did not work, although Leila reacted in time and dodged quickly, she still could not completely avoid the attack. The long sword instantly cut Leila's arm, leaving a wound. Leila covered the wound on her arm and pulled away. Only now did she see the appearance of the person coming clearly. A head of brown hair fell naturally, red pupils, and a smiling face. The whole person exuded a kind atmosphere, but the long sword in his hand, but it revealed a sharp white light, exuding a cold breath. The devil's heart. Leila saw a very obvious mark on the man's clothes. Who is this person? I don't remember such a person. Ultia is gone, and this person suddenly appeared. And why did the teleportation lose its effect just now? What a pity, he reacted quickly. He made a sword dance, still looking at Leila with a smile on his face, as if he didn't care at all. Who are you? Leila summoned the magic sword, held it in her hand and pointed it at the other party, as if facing a formidable enemy. Without a magic circle, how can the weapon be summoned? The laws of space are not invalidated. Is it the arc of manifestation? He touched his chin and said to himself. Space law. Leila was shocked. It was indeed that magic that invalidated the space magic. No wonder it didn't work just now, but it seemed that this magic could absorb people into another space, but the man didn't use it just now. Why? This was bad. He didn't have a way to deal with this magic. The space system was also difficult to deal with, and he mentioned the arc of manifestation. Apparently, Prishido had found someone who learned the arc of manifestation. The same magic as Lastiros. I wonder who is better. The man was talking to himself again. He felt that the man in front of him must be very interesting. Lastiros? Is that the name of the guy with glasses and a smug look? It's been so long that I can't remember his name at all. Never mind. Are all villains so talkative and confident? You've told me all the news. Do you want to tell me the purpose of this trip later? Let's give it a try. Leila reacted immediately after hearing his words, and immediately got ready, waiting for the man to attack. After all, this man could use space magic to move continuously, which made him much more flexible than him. he tried to move in space, constantly flashing past Leila and launching attacks, but fortunately, they were all blocked by the magic sword. Does this sword have its own consciousness? How interesting, a different manifestation from Lesteros. After he noticed the characteristics of the magic sword, he immediately increased the frequency of the space magic, and then the man's figure disappeared completely. Leila couldn't catch his figure at all, so she could only let go of the magic sword from her hand and let the magic sword respond with its own perception of magic. However, seeing that the offensive was getting faster and faster, his attacks had almost broken through the magic sword's defense several times, so Leila simply materialized 2 more magic swords. The man entangled with Leila for a while, and found that he couldn't gain any advantage after summoning 3 swords, so he stopped. Never mind, it's been a while, the council's army is coming soon, let's go. The man teleported directly to Jalal's face, and Jalal was about to say something when he was enveloped by magic and fell asleep. Fairy tale, I remember, we will meet again. When I stabbed Leila's arm just now, I saw the guild's emblem, and then the 2 of them disappeared in front of Leila. Hey, don't run. Damn, I almost did it. While fighting with him, Leila kept deepening the impression of this man in her mind. If this man stayed a little longer, Leila would be able to initially materialize him, and then the situation would be reversed, but unfortunately this man didn't give her a chance. Unfortunately, due to time, although Leila remembered that Alvarez could also use this magic, she had long forgotten what that man looked like and couldn't materialize him at all. Humans are idealistic animals. When Leila consciously couldn't imagine it, it was difficult for her to imagine another person using this magic, thus falling into a thinking error. After that man left, Leila was helpless and prepared to leave, but for safety's sake, she was afraid of fraud, so she walked for a distance. After a while, Leila released another thought body to use teleportation magic, and found that she was not absorbed into the different space, so she was relieved. Then she glanced at Makarov's position on the map in her mind and teleported directly in front of Makarov. Space law. There is such a person in the devil's heart. Makarov exclaimed. While Leila and Makarov were discussing this person, Urza was restless, as if she had lost her soul. Gerard Urza's eyes were empty and she kept mumbling. Leila noticed Urza's state and couldn't help but complain in her heart, saying that the big sister had fallen in love with Jalal so early. Urza, I think it is very likely that Jalal is still alive. Given the situation at the time, that person was about my age. Why did they capture a child who didn't know magic? It was simply because they saw his talent and wanted to train him as their own. That should be the case. What Leila said makes sense. Jalal's magic talent is indeed very good. Rob also came over to comfort him. Yeah, I see. Urza looked at Leila and Rob, and a glimmer of hope rose in her heart. After the matter was over, the army adhered to the principle and came late. The person who came was the leader of the Rune Knights. It was obvious that the council attached great importance to the situation here, and Makarov also handed over all matters here to the council. Then all the civilians were taken on board and sent to the port, and then stationed at the port. During this period, Makarov was asked some details. The local investigation team counted the number of people and recorded the list, and verified it according to the archives of missing persons in recent years, and finally distributed the people according to the village. It is worth mentioning that Urza and Simon are both from Rosemary Village, but Urza did not personally. Rob hopes Urza can join Fairy Tale. After thinking for a while, Urza gladly accepted. After all, she was alone, and if she wanted to save Jalal, she had to learn magic. Joining the guild was undoubtedly a good choice. Simon looked at Urza and hesitated to speak. After Rob agreed, Urza invited Simon and others to join Fairy Tale, but was rejected. Simon needed to go back because he wanted to find his sister, and Wooly also wanted to find his brother. Hugh and Miliana's family were still there. Although they did not agree, they said they would go to Fairy Tale to visit Urza later. Urza smiled and said to them, "Then we have an appointment." After saying goodbye to them, Urza also returned to Fairy Tale with Makarov with mixed feelings. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Like, you still haven't changed your bad habits? Hades' voice was calm, without any emotion. Ha ha ha, President, there is nothing we can do. It is a lot less fun to lock people up in another dimension. But unfortunately, he was too cautious in the end and failed to trick him. Li Kai scratched his head and replied with an embarrassed look. He felt excited when he thought of Leila also using the arc of materialization. The only regret was that he did not bring him back. Otherwise, 2 arcs of materialization would be interesting. Okay, where is the child you brought back? Hades did not dwell on this topic, but asked about Gerald. Yes, President, please take a look. Li Kai teleported Jalal, who was still in a coma. Hades took off his blindfold, and the atmosphere around him instantly became solemn. A red eye scanned Jalal's body. Well, the talent is really good. Hades put the eye patch back on and nodded with satisfaction. By the way, Li Kai, have you modified his memory? I have changed it, but not much. You know, I am not very good at learning memory magic, so he may still have a rebellious mentality. It doesn't matter, there is still a lot of time, leave that matter to him, I will teach him magic. Okay, then, President, I'll leave. Li Kai bowed to Hades, then turned and left the room. Seeing Li Kai leave, Hades lowered his head and recalled the appearance of the little devil, muttering, Makarov, you have also found a good seedling. Then Hades looked at Gerald again, quietly waiting for him to wake up. After Li Kai walked out of Hades' room, he found a person who was patrolling nearby and asked about the location of Lestiros. After finding out the location, Li Kai teleported directly to that direction. At this time, Lestiros was thinking about the problem with his head down, and his thoughts kept flashing through his mind. Then his eyes lit up, and he stood up and blurted out, Show up, my guardian beast Belfast of the Wind. A flying dragon with 2 sharp horns on its head, covered in armor as hard as steel, roared around. Lestiros stood up, carefully observed the summoned beast, nodded from time to time, and was obviously satisfied. After a while, Lestiros dispersed it, and then sat down to continue meditating. Hey, Rusty, what are you doing? Li Kai came over with a smile. What's the matter? Li Kai. Lestiros had just calmed down, and when he heard this familiar voice, he knew it was impossible to continue. I found something very interesting, do you want to know? Li Kai said to him mysteriously. If you have something to say, just say it. Lestiros knew that if he didn't follow Li Kai's words, he would be annoyed with him all day. I met a man when I went out this time. He also used the arc of manifestation. Li Kai looked around carefully and found that there was no one else. He leaned over and whispered in his ear. What? Then what? Lestiros stood up instantly, and excitedly pulled Li Kai's arm to ask about the man's situation. Ahem, then we met and I left. Li Kai coughed twice and said seriously. Then why don't you catch him back? Rastelos was so angry that he wanted to strangle Li Kai's neck, but he still tried to calm down. What can I do? That person is also a materialized arc. I don't want to get involved with him too much. Besides, the Council of Representatives will also be here, and the President of Fairy Tale will also be there. Li Kai said helplessly. Well, that's true. Lestiros nodded in approval when he heard this, with a smug smile on his face. Obviously, he only heard the first half of the sentence. He was very proud of the magic of the Arc of Manifestation. The manifestation of wishes was connected to the root of magic. Although it had its limits and certain restrictions, this magic was very powerful. So, you came back just like that? Lestiros frowned and asked with a puzzled look on his face. Yes, what else can I do? Li Kai kept it a secret. But what? Rasteros asked impatiently. Li Kai saw that Rasteros had taken the bait, so he told Rasteros everything he had discovered during the battle with Leila. Oh. A conscious sword that can automatically defend against your attacks and can summon multiple swords. That's pretty interesting. So can you summon it out and take a look? No, as a fellow Arc of Manifestation wizard, I don't care about his ideas. Lestiros raised his head proudly, his eyes full of contempt. Good. If you have an idea, keep going on your path, Rasteros. The smile on Li Kai's face was a little hard to break, and then he patted Rastiro's shoulder heavily. Oh. Rastiros was a little confused by Li Kai's attitude and didn't know what he was trying to do. Who knew that Li Kai just finished saying this and walked to the forest beside him, and shouted to the woods, "Hey, Azuma, you heard it, and Huayuan, come out too." A big question mark popped up above Rastiro's head. He didn't understand what Li Kai was doing, and he had no idea about the existence of Azuma and Huayuan. "I am willing to accept the loss, give it to you." Azuma came out from a big tree, sat on a branch, and then threw a purse to Li Kai. "Li Kai, here you are." Huayuan also slowly took out an item and handed it to Li Kai reluctantly. "Hee, then I won't be polite." Li Kai took the purse and the doll from Huayuan. He had coveted the doll for a long time. Li Kai threw the two items casually and teleported to his own space. At this time, Rastiros came over with a confused look on his face. "What's going on, you two?" "We made a bet with Li Kai. If you heard the news, would you use that person's method?" Azuma briefly explained the matter to Rastiros, and Huayuan nodded on the side, but unfortunately they both guessed wrong. The only regret for the two of them was that they failed to win the bet. Li Kai's conditions were really tempting. For Azuma, being able to fight Li Kai with all his strength was enough to make his blood boil. Huayuan asked Li Kai to help him get a person's hair for him to play with. As for the candidate, Li Kai just silently glanced at the stunned Rastiros. He mainly wanted to see what expression this arrogant man would have after being teased. Just thinking about it was very interesting. Winning or losing didn't matter to him. If he lost, it was his turn, and if he won, he could play by himself. In short, he was determined to get Rastiros' hair. When he could get a strand of it when he wasn't paying attention, he would get it. "Where are Zancro and Capriccio?" Li Kai said, looking at Azuma. Capriccio said he was going to find some powerful humans. When Zancro heard Capriccio's purpose, he followed him. He said it would be nice to follow him around, maybe he could kill a few people for fun. Azuma said calmly. "What a boring couple, it would be more fun to go find the person who manifested the ark." Li Kai. "Didn't you say that person is from fairy tale? I heard that the president is Saint Ten. Do you dare to go?" Rastiros said provocatively. "I don't dare. It would be much more interesting if I could find his whereabouts. Unfortunately, I don't know when the next interesting thing will appear." Li Kai looked listless. "You should stay here honestly. Doesn't the president have more tasks for you?" Rastiros continued. "That task shouldn't fall on me." Li Kai recalled that after he went out, he saw Hades from the corner of his eye. He attached great importance to Jalal and should have arranged for Jalal to do it. Who should I give it to then? That the three of them were puzzled. President Hades took this matter very seriously. The best candidate at the time was Li Kai. If not him, who else would it be? Gerald, our future companion. Chapter 51. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Old man, I'm going back first. I'm so tired. Leila hid behind and said weakly. She was ready to leave, but Makarov didn't give Leila a chance. That's perfect, I'll give you a potion to restore your magic power, and I'll also help you check the wound on your arm. Makarov's tone was unquestionable, and his eyes stared at Leila indifferently, as if to say, if you don't come, you'll be ready to die. Ah. My injury is almost healed. I will recover after I take a rest. Leila looked embarrassed and secretly complained in her heart. Makarov frowned, looking intimidating without even getting angry. Oh, okay. Leila sighed, helpless, and had to come over. The old man didn't want to see Leila go back to be lazy, he just wanted him to move more. Staying in the guild all day long would make people lazy. He also said something about the injury on his arm. At that time, the healing magicians in the Rune Knights had used healing magic on Leila, and it had healed long ago. Seeing Leila catching up, Makarov no longer paid attention to him, and walked in front with Rob, whispering to each other, and Leila and Urza behind them couldn't hear what they were saying. Leila and Urza followed behind them. Leila was absent-minded, walking slowly, and Urza was curiously looking around. "Leila, where are we going? Is the guild in the forest?" Urza asked quietly, with a hint of doubt in her voice. "Oh, this is the way to Granny Polyusica's cottage." Leila came to her senses and explained to Urza. "Granny Palaka is a very powerful healing magician, maybe she can help you see the light again." Seeing the light again? Urza's originally heavy mood suddenly became happy. Although she did not show that she cared too much, she still felt lost in her heart. "Don't worry, I will definitely cure you." Leila changed her previous lazy look and looked at Urza seriously. "Yes." Urza looked at Leila's determined eyes, her heart full of hope, and nodded slightly. As the cabin got closer and closer, Makarov and Rob stopped talking, took a deep breath, and after thinking for a long time, they knocked on the door. After the door was opened, what caught their eyes was Polyusica's cold eyes, staring at them silently, staring at them until their scalps tingled. Then he noticed Leila and Urza behind him, and Polyusica restrained himself a little. "Come in," Polyusica said. "Okay." The two who had been discussing how to start the conversation all the way now had thousands of words stuck in their throats, and finally just said okay. After entering the house, Polyusica glared at Rob fiercely, then unceremoniously asked him to sit on the wooden block and checked his physical condition. After finding that there was nothing abnormal, he took 2 bottles of potion from the shelf and handed them to Rob and Leila. They were potions for restoring physical condition. Polyusica also saw that Leila's body was a little weak. "By the way, Polyusica, please show this little girl a look." Rob finished drinking the potion and immediately pulled Urza to his side. "Let me see your eyes." Polyusica walked up to Urza and said. "Yes." Urza obediently untied the eye patch on her right eye and showed the wound to Polyusica for inspection. Leila also took a look and felt that the two people were really lucky for them. At that time, due to Li Kai's sudden appearance, he was afraid of any accidents and killed the 2 people directly, otherwise he would still torture them. Polyusica held up his chin with his hand, looked closer, and frowned slightly. "It's such a serious injury. It will be very difficult to see the light again." After Polyusica finished speaking, Urza lowered her head, put on the eye mask again, and remained silent. "Don't say that, please, she is so beautiful, it's too pitiful." Makarov sighed, with a look of pity on his face. "Come here." Polyusica skillfully grabbed Makarov's ear and pulled him aside. "Pain, it hurts." Makarov was in a panic, tilting his ears and hurriedly following Polyusica's footsteps. "Are you planning to wait until she grows up before you attack her?" Polyusica said with a dark face, approaching Makarov and staring into his eyes, with a strong doubt in her tone. How is it possible?" Makarov trembled and said with a smile on his face. "Poochie." Rob covered his mouth and couldn't help laughing. "You still have the nerve to laugh." Polyusica caught Rob's mistake and was about to say, Hey. Rob quickly indicated that Urza was still here. "All right, you sit on the bed over there and wait for a while, I'll go prepare the potion for you." Polyusica no longer paid attention to the two of them, and turned to Urza and said. Polyusica turned and walked to the bookshelf, and after some searching, she took out a book, put it on the desk, and then carefully looked for the method of preparing the potion on it. After finding it, she took out the materials from the locker next to her and carefully placed them in the container on the table. What followed was a long wait, and everyone else watched quietly on the side. After Leila watched a dazzling operation, Polyusica mixed various materials together and finally made a bottle of perfect healing potion. Polyusica wiped the sweat from her forehead, applied the potion around Urza's eyes, and used the gauze was wrapped up. Then, Polyusica took out another bottle of potion and handed it to Urza, asking her to drink it. Finally, while waiting for the potion to take effect, Polyusica asked Urza how she felt. After getting the answer, Polyusica untied the gauze. As the gauze fell, Leila handed Urza a mirror, and Makarov and Rob also gathered around. Urza felt the light, slowly opened her eyes, and stared at herself in the mirror. Her mouth was slightly open, her pupils kept shaking, and her eyes were fixed on the mirror. Polyuzica hit Makarov and Rob and asked them to step back, saying that they were too close. Leila stood behind them obediently. "Can you see it?" Polyuzica asked. "I can see now. My eyes are better now." Urza blinked and found that she could see now. She answered happily. Makarov and Rob were relieved to hear Urza's answer and hurriedly thanked Polyuzica. "In that case, you can take her away." Polyuzica walked to the door and prepared to see the guests off. "Well, we won't bother you anymore, Polyuzica," Makarov said cheerfully. Urza stared at herself in the mirror, crying with joy. A line of tears fell uncontrollably from her eyes like pearls that had broken off the string. She was immersed in joy and didn't notice anything unusual. "Wait, Urza, your eyes." Leila was startled, then tried to calm her tone. After Leila's words, Makarov and the other two turned around to look at Urza, all with surprised expressions. Urza raised her head and looked at them, not knowing what was going on. She stood there in a daze, not speaking. Seeing this, Makarov and Rob said, "Polyuzica, what's going on? Why can you see but can't cry? This is impossible." "The medicine I prepared is perfect." Polyuzica walked quickly to the table and kept turning the pages of the book. "It's okay." Urza's words interrupted the actions of the others in the room. "Urza." Rob wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Urza. "This is because the tears in my other eye have dried up." The girl shed tears from one eye, and her happy smile was as bright as the sun, warming the others in the room.